Bonjour mon petit chiflet, Amber here, and happy December. I'm talking to the camera. Happy December. Today is December 1st. We're in the final leg of this ridiculous year. I mean, I don't know why I'm talking like we automatically assume we're going to get a reset in 2021, but anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about books, and for once I'm on time with my reading wrap up. I could have done this like yesterday, but I didn't have the energy. Anyway, all that rambling just to say, today we are filming my November reading wrap up. November was a weird reading month for me. I mean, to be fair, I went into it not planning to read a lot. I went into it thinking, I'm going to be writing a book this month. I'm going to be finishing my novel. The lie detector determined that was a lie, but even with not writing, I still didn't read a ton. When you look at the number of books I finished, you're like, Amber, what are you talking about? But I liked, okay, I read 4 books this month, 3 of which are a reread. And that's the thing. I kind of, when I say I wasn't going to read much, I wasn't counting the reread. So like me not reading, well, can I say that? You know what? I'm gonna shut up, because technically when I think about it, there's only one book that I wrote down that I wanted to read this month that I didn't. So let me just get into it. Oh, what is this on my leg? Okay, I'm gonna show you the first 3 together because they go together. They're a series. In November, as I do every year and have done for a very long time now, I reread the Hunger Games trilogy. This is now the 11th time that I have read this series. That's my favorite series. I think everyone and their mother knows that. Last year when I read the books for the 10th time, after reading, I was still reading them, whatever, to commemorate 10 times reading the series, it being my favorite series, whatever, I finally got my Hunger Games tattoo. One day I will actually properly show you what this thing looks like. In fact, my Hunger Games tattoo was one of the first ones that I knew I really wanted. It was just a matter of designing it and finding someone who could translate my chicken scratch into art. And I definitely did. I love this piece so much. In fact, the first anniversary of me getting it was like last week, I think. Anywho, so I don't have to talk about this. We know what the Hunger Games is about. I reread the series and it never gets old. I love these books so much. I will say that reading it this time, I can't say this time because I'm sure I feel this every time I read the books, but I noticed so much more foreshadowing in the books. There's a moment, if you watch my vlog, I think I talk about it. Sorry you can hear that in the background. I think I talk about it in the vlog where, for example, one of the biggest ones is Peeta talking about how he doesn't want the Capitol to turn him into something he's not, to make him into like a monster, when we all know what happens in Mockingjay. There's like a reference, I think it's the Hunger Games also, where Katniss is like having a nightmare and she's talking about, it's like the lines like, how many ways do I watch Prim die? And we know what happens in Mockingjay. If you don't, I'm sorry. Yeah, there's a lot of foreshadowing that I noticed as we lead up to the final book. Also, I will say that I always notice this again every time I reread, because I reread the books and then I watch the movie. While I love the movies so much, I think they're, especially the last 2, or the last 2 books, last 3 movies, are such great adaptations. Catching Fire specifically, it's my favorite book in the series. It's my favorite movie in the series. There's so much that they still weren't able to capture. Like we talk about how they, like in the first one, how they sort of like watered down the cave scene, which is one of the best scenes in this whole series. Even the scene in Catching Fire on the beach with Katniss and Peeta. But aside from scenes, even the characters themselves, I think they're all casted perfectly. But I feel like there's so much depth that still wasn't able to be captured. So many layers and like intricacy of each character. Josh, for example, Josh Hutcherson is like such an underrated actor. I've been a fan of his forever, like even pre-Hunger Games. And I think he is such a did such a phenomenal job as Peeta, but there's still, even with that, there's still so much of Peeta that wasn't like properly expressed, I guess. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I mean, even Gale, I hate Gale with a burning passion. One of the worst fictional characters ever. I hate him so much. If you follow me on Twitter, you saw my tirade about Gale Hawthorne. He can choke. I'm gonna get into that in a second. Even though he's such an awful character, he's still a bit more likable in the books. Like, I understand their friendship somewhat. I hate him, doesn't matter. Speaking of which, I have, like, can we talk about this for a sec? And Finnick's essence. Anyway, speaking of Finnick and Gale, can we talk about how, Suzanne, hear me out, let's chat, how much more sense it would have made if Gale had been the one to die instead of Finnick? Because at the end of Mockingjay, Katniss loses Gale regardless, right? But at least she wouldn't have had to lose him like that. And especially after losing Prim, and she still would have had Finnick, who's her real best friend. We can fight about that at another time. I'm not going to keep talking about the Hunger Games. I love the series. Like I said, it never gets old. I don't see it ever getting old. I can't wait till November 2021. So we'll be having this conversation again after my 12th reread. I wanted to say that I want Finnick's books, but after Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, I really don't know. But like, I have a whole vision of like a Finnick O'Dare based trilogy. Like, we could get book 1 is his original games, right? Book 2 is him being a mentor, being a heartthrob / slave to the Capitol, and that trauma is the only word I can think of. That's the only word, actually. Book 3 is him, or I guess book 2 is that, and then him becoming a rebel, like seeing how he got drawn into the revolution. And then book 3 would obviously be like the Quarter Quell, and basically Mockingjay, but like through his point of view. Book 2, obviously we have to have him falling in love with Annie. I'm gonna write it myself, who cares? Anyway, so after that, it took me so much longer to read these books than I wanted it to. Usually I can like zip right through them. At first I thought it was just because I was trying to like write at the same time, and maybe my brain was being pulled in too many different directions, because even when I wasn't actively writing, I was like telling myself I needed to, and trying to like get to a place where I can produce something and produce content for this channel and Bookstagram, which I really didn't do. But anyway, after that I read Elatsue by Darcy Little Badger. I wanted to read this so much earlier in the month because, one, November is Native American Heritage Month, and then on top of that, November is also Indigathon, which is hosted by Brody at Ed2Brody and Michelle from Thor Wants a Letter, created by and hosted by, and I wanted to be able to incorporate more indigenous lit than I was able to in my TBR. After this, I was planning to read The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. I wasn't able to get to it, which I'm really sad about. But anyway, Elatsue, I'm sorry, the trains decide they want to run again. This follows Ellie, or Elatsue, who is a Lipan Apache. What was that accent? Apache in Texas, I believe. Her family lives in Texas, but in this version of America, it's very similar to our America, but let's see, as the flap says, this America has been shaped dramatically by the magic, monsters, knowledge, and legends of its peoples, those indigenous and those not. So in this world, there are like the legends of indigenous culture. There are vampires, there are like fae creatures, which is really interesting. Ellie's family has the ability to raise the ghosts of dead animals. This skill, this secret has been passed down through her family for generations. She is the descendant of another Elatsue who is like this hero, her 6th great grandmother, this hero, kind of like her whose legacy she is always like trying to live up to. So at the beginning of this story, we find out that her cousin has been murdered. So this story is basically her trying to solve his murder and bring his murderer to justice. And she is joined on this quest with her oldest friend Jay and her beloved ghost dog Kirby. So yeah, I have heard nothing but good things about this book, so obviously I had to pick it up. I was really intrigued by the synopsis and the concept, and I thoroughly enjoyed my time reading this book. I sped through it. It was so good. I really loved how much family and culture were sort of like foundations for this story. I really love how the importance of storytelling, this was weaved beautifully. Like it was like simultaneously like dark and whimsical, and I loved the mystery aspect, the murder mystery aspect. I appreciated seeing like ace representation. Ellie is asexual. I think she might be aromantic also, but that's not confirmed in the book. But at the same time, I love her friendship with Jay. I think their friendship is so sweet and adorable. I don't remember what I was going to say, but I really enjoyed the story. I really want to make it a point to incorporate more indigenous literature in the future. Like I always feel like I'm not reading enough. Oh, also, the story made me want a dog desperately. These illustrations for the chapter headers are so beautiful. I love them. That was one of my favorite parts of this book, and one of the main reasons I'm like, all right, I need this book, because like aesthetically it's beautiful. Also, like reading this, especially during Native American Heritage Month, it made me like feel sort of like connected but like disconnected also from my history. Personally, I don't talk about this, but I don't talk about it because like it's like weird, and I don't know how to, it's not weird, I don't know how to talk about it without it sounding like, oh yes, we're all 1/8 Cherokee or whatever, everyone has like a Cherokee great grandmother, you know, that conversation. But my mom's great grandmother was Lakota, but like because my mom is like now getting more connected with her dad's side of the family, I feel like I'm not connected with that part of, like, I don't know really anything about Lakota culture or anything, and like I wish I did, because like I feel uncomfortable like, oh yeah, I'm Native American, like oh my god, like I've always said that because, you know, growing up it's like, yeah, there's Native American in our family, which even on my mom's side there is. I don't really know the details like that. I just don't want to like offend anybody when I talk about it. But yeah, so like reading this made me wish that I knew more about that part of me, I guess. But there you go. Loved a Lot Sway. Those are the books I read in November, and it's December 1st, and I can tell you what I'm planning to read first in December. I'm finally planning to read A Song of Race and Ruin, which I've been putting off for so long. But yeah, that's this. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you read in November and what you plan to read in December. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you like me, feel free to subscribe. All my places are down here so you can follow me, and I'll follow you back, and I'll see you very soon.